This is Matt Binder. As the state considers the sublease proposal for the 30-meter telescope on Mauna Kea, questions are being raised over the determination of fair market value for such a lease. At the previous Board of Land and Natural Resources meeting, the University of Hawaii at Hilo and the TMT International Observatory LLC presented their proposal for payment of a substantial amount of sublease rent as required by the Conservation District Use Permit approved by the state last year.
And to determine the rent, we were guided by Act 132 passed in 2009 that authorized the university to charge fees, including rent, on Mauna Kea in its leased lands.
Here are the numbers being proposed.
$1,080,000 a year. That rent, while it increases between 2014 for the first 10 years, is also subject to CPI increases over time. So actually, by the time the telescope becomes operative, the rent really won't be $1,080,000, it'll be $1,300,000, whatever.
How did the hired appraiser arrive at such numbers?
There is not an open market that exists for telescope sites. Right. They're not bought, they're not sold, they're not traded.
That's why you should pay the price.
That's right. And so they're paying a price that, by comparison, is substantially higher than anything else. This is what they've agreed to. So while I can't technically say that this is an above-market lease, because technically there is no competitive market, I can say the lease clearly represents a top-of-the-market rent structure. And in addition to that, not only does it include a top-of-the-market rent structure, but it's for a raw site in which the lessee has to go through all the risks of obtaining the entitlements, all the necessary land use conditions. It has to bear all of the infrastructure in placement, So when you start looking at raw versus infrastructure, it even makes the numbers and the comparison more substantial.
There could have been other criteria for determining the value, according to testimony from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
I want to point out that Act 132 limits what the rents can be used for. It doesn't actually limit how much the university can charge. We did research into the telescope time that other sublessees are currently selling right now. And other telescopes are selling viewing time on their telescopes on Mauna Kea to entities like National Science Foundation, NASA, universities like Yale and Swinburne University in Australia for between $80,000 and $100,000 per night. And I think that's sort of a starting point to look at what actual fair rental value, what substantial rent could be on the mountain, and for TMT.
Kalani Flores, who opposed the TMT project, says the fair market determination was legally flawed.
The sublease is in violation of Section 171-17 pertaining to appraisals. It states here in bold on page 2, the sale price or lease rental of lands to be disposed of or by drawing or by negotiation shall be no less than the value determined by 1. An employee of the board qualified to appraise lands. None has come from this board, an employee, to appraise this. Or 2nd, a disinterested appraiser or appraisers whose services shall be contracted by the board. That has not occurred. It's in the law that appraisal by an independent appraisal or by a member of the employee of the board shall do a fair market value. That has not occurred. It's only been presented some figures by a consultant of the applicant.
The sublease agreement, with its substantial rent amount, if approved, would be a first for Mauna Kea's astronomy precinct. As one testifier commented, it could mean the beginning of a whole new way of doing business at the summit.
There may be people in astronomy organizations that aren't happy to hear about it, because it seems like the handwriting would be on the wall that the next legal opportunity, they're going to have to pay some money. It's a change in direction.
These issues will be addressed at the Board of Land and Natural Resources meeting when it takes the issue up again on Friday.